What's going on, everybody? This is Mark from Solar Games, and today we're going to talk about fakes again. So, in a very recent collection I purchased, I actually found a couple fake cards, or just, sorry, to be very clear, I so far have found only one fake card, but I do want to share with everybody like my general process for making sure that, buying collections like this, you don't get screwed with fakes. Highly recommend that if you are thinking about putting serious money into old school reserve lists, whatever cards, that you learn a bunch. You might want to, ask some friends to show you in person, etc. Before you actually put real money down for reserve list cards and old school cards, because there are a lot of fakes out there, and there are a lot of collectors who they don't even know they have fakes, but they're not intentionally trying to trick you, but they do exist out there, so you want to be able to protect yourself, right? So the first thing I would say is, definitely learn a bunch about fakes. Learn all the techniques of spotting fakes out there. I have a video, actually, I'll link it in the description here, that show you my techniques and what I use for spotting fakes. But of course, you can go through and kind of figure those things out yourself, learn some new techniques. If you learn any cool tricks, let me know. I would love to, get to know what I'm missing. But the third thing I would always carry is, I have my, I don't have my bag with me right now, but basically I would always have a jeweler's bauble with me whenever I'm looking over cards. That way it helps you to look for things like, set symbols, the pixelation, the green dot test, etc. These are the ways you can do your testing. I always bring this folder, binder, which is my verification binder. I always bring this, and the way I stock this up is, I have some spots for alpha and beta that I will be putting in there, but basically I put in some sample cards of every set, especially sets that have expensive cards. So alpha, beta, unlimited, revised, chronicles, and I don't know if there's any expensive stuff in chronicles. You have it legends over here. These are all kind of like sample cards. Recommendation, you do one of every color. So if there's gold, have the gold cards here, lands, etc. Just helps you to really see the difference, right? So as an example, when I was going through the collection, I did find this card was a little bit fishy. The first thing was the feel is wrong on the back. A lot of cards, the front actually, like if you look at this LED here, Lion's Eye Diamond, the front looks pretty much fine. I mean, by looking at it with the raw, eye, it's okay, like especially if you don't compare to any other card. But once you look at the back, the first thing that ticked me off was it was incredibly shiny, which is not a traditional thing with Magic cards. So what I do is I usually have a folder ready to go. I open that up, I go find, like for example in this case, Mirage. So we just kind of go past Alliances, Mirage right here. And because I actually have an artifact, just take any artifact out of here, right? So this is great for comparison. Don't put you don't even need most expensive cards in here. You just need a sample set of cards. So the first thing you want to do is you want to compare color, right? So the color of the cards, the text, the print, they all should match up the same. So again, from a raw look, I can already tell there are some differences between this and this, but by and large, it's not too bad. The card is definitely glossier than the old school one, but by and large, again, there's not a huge difference. There's a little bit of color difference. This one's definitely darker than this one. And if you look in the kind of like, let's see if I can get some nice light reflection on here. You notice how this card doesn't reflect the light the same way that this one does, right? Especially the back. When you see the back, it becomes a lot more obvious. See, you see how that light is, and I'll just reverse this so you can see it too this way. You see how there's light on this card in the back, but when it gets on this card, it's not really that reflective. And this is the matted finish you'll normally see with a real Magic card, and this is the fake. And one thing you'll note with Mirage, and this is why you have multiple, is you can kind of see if Mirage cards are more like a certain color or not. So as you can see, when you look at these cards, actually I guess now this one looks a little bit more fishy, but the thing that you'll notice is this color here is lighter than this and this. I know it's really hard to tell on the camera, but you can actually see this color is off. And if you do the test on the green dot, you will notice that this card, the LED, will fail the green dot test as well. But that's what I do when I have look at cards in a set. you definitely want to be able to do that. Let me show you another test you could do that's actually relatively quick and easy. This is probably going to be too bright, but let's try it here. So if I turn on this super bright light onto this real card, you notice how the light comes through as a white light, right? But, oh, that's so bright. This is one of those torch. But if you look through this card here, you see how that's coming through yellow? I know this is not the best example, obviously, because let's see if I can get that really close to show you guys. Yeah, the light that's coming through now is like more of a yellowish light and not a white light like it would be for this this crystal golem. You see how that's a very nice white light, and it comes out really clear. Again, these things are better seen in person, but these two tests, the light test and the green dot, is pretty much all you need. Again, third is feel. If I feel the back of the card, this one's a lot more glossier than this one, and that's traditionally true about these fakes, is that a lot of them will be glossier, and that's, you can see that because the material they're using is different. Like this one's almost like a mirror, you can see a bunch of stuff, whereas this one's much more matted, and that is a big difference. So do note that as a difference. And this is very key because a card like Lion's Eye Diamond is like, what, a $500 card? But obviously if you bought a fake, then this will be zero. So you got to be aware of that. Oh, one other thing, and I don't expect anyone to have this, out of the gate, but you do want to keep a box of fakes and start collecting these like over time, and start understanding what fakes look like and why they're the way they are. So as an example of some good fakes here, or decent. I always keep this one. This one's actually not a fake. This is just somebody like coloring the edges, so you can kind of see what that normally looks like on a card. And the way to know if there's coloring is you put this card in a stack of other cards, and they will be pretty obvious. But I have like some other fakes here, but these are always good to have on hand, because if you have these cards on hand, then you can tell the fakes from the real. And that's what I always do. I always bring them with me. It's a great way to have a conversation as well with people. Sometimes, people who sell you collections, they don't actually know they have fakes in their possession. They're not trying to trick you intentionally, but they might have been tricked in the past, or maybe when they bought a collection, they weren't careful to check every card. So it does happen. Yeah, I won't really comment on that too much, but it does happen. There are fakes out there, so you got to be really careful and protect yourself and know what you're looking for. But at the same time, always have a box on hand with cards ready to go, so you can check to see if they match the coloring, the font. A lot of those kind of things do matter a lot. There will be print variations, so just because the coloring doesn't quite 100% match, doesn't necessarily mean the card is fake. So just be aware of that. There are print variations, especially with the older cards, but in general, they should be matching pretty well. So if they're not, then that's definitely, these are just, again, signs that would indicate that you need to look a little bit more deeply and make sure you're not making a mistake. I think that's all I want to say for this video. I do want to say that, if you're not sure, then my recommendation, don't buy anything. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. Whenever I go out there to buy cards, I'm not paying people like 20 cents on the dollar or whatever. If a $4,000 card somebody tries to sell me for $1,000, it's probably a fake, right? People who are selling $4,000 cards, they know what to look for, and so they know they're not going to sell you a card for $1,000 for no reason. So when in doubt, buy from people you trust. Go ask a friend. One of the best way to know if it's a fake or real. Take a real card of the exact same card from the same print run, from the same set, because you're not sure of the print run, and compare it to that card. And a lot of times it'll be very clear to you once you see the two cards side by side that one is going to be real, one is going to be fake. But again, this video is not enough at all for you to know how to tell fakes, but it's more of a guideline of what you do. So highly recommend a folder. You definitely want to get a very bright light. So this is great because this one helps me see in daylight. So whenever sometimes I'm buying things and I don't have the proper light to be able to do a real light test in a dark room. So this helps me to see in daylight. It's very, very bright flashlight. And then in addition to that, you do want a jeweler's bauble, which I don't have one here, but you know what those are. And then of course your box of fakes that you can always hold with you wherever you go. And that's pretty much it. Anyways, it's Mark from Solar Games. I hope this is helpful. And please, be careful, guys. There's a lot of fakes out there. I'm seeing them all the time, and I do see more and more of them, especially now that we're in a recession. Everyone's kind of thinking about, selling their collection. A lot of these fakes will surface. There's probably a lot of desperate people trying to get money. So you got to really protect yourself. I mean, it's a good time to buy Magic cards. I highly recommend if you have the liquid capital, you do it now. But at the same time, you got to be really careful, because the worst thing that can happen is you buy a set, you think it's real, you pay good money for it, and then when you're trying to sell it to somebody like me in the future for a profit, and I go through your set and I say this is fake, you've just lost tons of money. So definitely be careful. Don't buy anything you don't understand. Yeah. Anyways, Mark from Solar Games, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.